It looks like we are live. I apologize for the sound of people mowing in the background. Can't do much about that. But welcome to the Eternal Cylinder live stream with Carlos, the game director of Ace Team, and myself, Genesee from Good Shepherd Entertainment. So we're here to have Carlos answer some of your community questions. I have some that I've pulled from Discord right now, but also please feel free to ask them in chat so we can get to them as well. So, hey, Carlos, you want
Hello.
to say hi to everyone?
Hello, everyone. Carlos Bordeu here. I'm going to be playing and answering questions, and I'm notoriously bad at doing two things at the same time. So this is likely to end up with me saying some nonsense or crashing the game live. So I hope none of that happens.
It's all good, film. Good. We like that. It's fine. Okay, so these are the questions that we've pulled from Discord. So just for clarity, everyone should know that you're playing the beta, and I will be asking a lot of questions about kind of inspirations about the beta and things like that. So if you guys have questions about that, go ahead and ask those now, and we'll be gathering them throughout the stream. So first one is from Nintendo Nate. Will there be the blue barriers in the full game similar to the beta? I heard there won't be. If not, how will outrunning the cylinder work in the full game?
The blueberries are part of the full game. They are within the normal game. So yeah, it's not like they aren't there. I think that misconception might come from some of the people who managed to sort of cheat. Do some in the first version of the beta, there were people who were able to sort of get away from out from the blue barriers, but no, it's there.
There you go. So don't worry. Okay, so Dragon Rider's going in on the intro that you see. Like, we're now starting the beta. He's playing, but there's an intro in one of our trailers and things talking about a star. So Dragon Rider's asking, how far away from a star is the planet that this takes place on? Celestial stuff for you.
How far away from the star? Which star? Sorry.
They don't reference it, but I guess I'm just asking. Like, it's something like far away on a distant star. I think there was a trailer that we said there.
Yeah. I think it would be kind of spoiler if I talk about where and what the planet of the Trebum, where it is, and all that, because it's related somehow to the story, and I don't really want to spoil that part.
There you go. So you have to wait, Dragon Rider. Okay, the Wisdom Newt asks, is the cylinder sentient? Is it a sentient cylinder or being controlled elsewhere? Another perhaps spoiler.
Yeah, kind of a spoiler question thing too, but I think my silence on the matter kind of reveals a little bit the answer.
There you go. More cylinder, but a little more like probably answerable. What was the inspiration behind the cylinder servants' names and designs? So you can either take mathematician or collector, whatever you want.
Yeah, we have several different of the cylinder servants are. You'll notice that they have all the cylinder servants have parts that are like human parts in their body. So that was one of the clear design aspects that we wanted them to have in their designs, so that you would very clearly separate them from the animals. So if you go back and look at the original prototype of the game, a video that I had back in done in 2015, you'll notice that one of the cylinder servants, the car version one, the cleanser, it had like elephant legs, and we knew from the beginning that that could cause a lot of confusion because players would maybe not see what was sort of the invading force in the Trebum's world and what was just creatures. So that was a change that happened as we started development. And the names for them, they were mostly, the final names were invented by Jonas Kiratse. He's the writer of the project. He's known for his work on the Talos Principle and other projects. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, Beware of Jabberwock asks, which cylinder minion design are you most proud of, or which one freaks you out the most?
Which one of the designs of the creatures?
Yeah, of the minions of the cylinder.
That's a good one. The first one that was created, definitely the first creature, the minions, the servants that were created. The mathematician was the first that we came up with. That was me. If I had to order the things how they were created, the first thing that was sort of invented in the game was the cylinder. Next was the trebum. Then I had the omnogram, the cleanser, and afterwards, immediately I came up with the design for the mathematician, which I knew was very important to the story and to the game itself. But they're all pretty freaky. I think there's some really cool designs. I think the ones that struck most people has been the mathematician, and it's kind of my personal favorite because I designed it. But yeah, I think a lot of people will be impressed with some of them that appear further in the game.
People are they'd asked about this, and I believe that this is just an older model perhaps used for mathematician, but they said the one in the beta doesn't match certain ones in the trailers, etc., because they have different like sized sort of stone things on the side of their head. Is the one, which one's the true one, and does that mean anything, those bits next to kind of on their shoulders?
Yes, something did change. No, so the design for the mathematician did go through some changes. Definitely, it is 100% the design that was received the most amount of changes during the game. I know that on the shoulders it had some structures that were different, and then they changed for some like rock structures. The legs of the creature also changed. Most of it was to be kind of consistent with what everything else that existed in the game. So there were some revisions done. There is a reason for the designs of many of the things that are in the game. So it's not purely just out of our artistic liberty to do whatever we want. There is a reason why the creatures look a bit the way they do, but that would be a little bit entering a little bit of spoilers.
But it could still be made to hatch.
Gotcha. Okay, so talking about designs, I mean, we just walked over almost like a walkway of hexagons there,
Yes.
leading up to our little Trebum kind of home area with their little gardens and houses. So shapes seem to matter a lot to Trebum. Can you talk about maybe a bit of, is this like a reflective of their culture, or why the circles, hexagons, squares matter to Trebums?
Yes, when we were looking at what we wanted to do for the culture of the like for the Trebum, for their home world sort of constructions, we knew we needed to have something that would identify somehow their constructions. So what some things that you see very often in the designs that we have for their structures is like these triangular shapes. You can see that the doors, for instance, are very triangular. We have hexagons and lots of these like straight line shapes in a very organic world. So it helped us sort of define better what the things that they were making look like. These giant towers, for instance, also show a little bit of the way that the Trebum, the things that are artificial in their world, how they look. So we wanted to have all that as a part of their design.
Nice. Sometimes you run into little sculptures. I love those, like broken down little elephant-looking sculptures, or like little bits. Fun. Okay. Powder Boy asks, how do you decide what plants or creatures interact with each other? Do you plan ecosystems first, or add those interacting behaviors later down the line?
It was from the very beginning a plan within the design of the game itself to have an ecosystem, and we separated the creatures by which ones are predators and which ones are herbivores. So we understood that we wanted to I didn't make that jump. We understood that we wanted to have creatures that would interact between each other. So from the very beginning, we understood that the game had to have creatures that would not only attack the player, but sort of interact between each other. It was an important part of the design of the game. And that's been actually quite a challenge for the implementation, because we have these like very different creatures, which you have not only the fact that you have some predators and herbivores and creatures that attack others, but you also have the servants of the cylinder, which might attack predators, and they're so different from each other, the creatures. So it's been a big challenge for the programming team. So yeah, but it was done. It was decided from the very beginning.
I saw you a little bit ago messing with the ramps. They were asking you in chat, how good are you going up and down the ramps and trying to get some of the mutation elements that are hidden up high?
That particular ramp there is kind of a tricky one, but there is some goodies. If you, I'm spoiling maybe a secret. You can get one of the further mutations in the game if you manage to do that ramp and jump upwards. There's cool little secrets here and there everywhere. I would say my skill level in the game is more basic. Basically, at this point, I'm very knowledgeable about the environments and where everything is and how it works. So I'm usually pretty capable of going through the game rather quickly. But yeah. So.
Cool. Now might be a good time to talk about those patch notes. We don't have any F8 feedback to give everyone because you guys have been so great about reporting all the stuff. So that's all in our system now. We're all looking at it, taking a look. But you might have seen last week there was a patch that came out that Ace Team was working really hard on. Is there anything in particular you want to talk about that patch? I'm sure you had some fun times there.
Yeah, fun times. We definitely had a little bit of a nightmare with one of the worst bugs that we tried to tackle was definitely the falling through the terrain, and this is like a common thing in video game development. It's not something. I mean, you can even see videos on YouTube of people falling through the ground in The Last of Us 2. So, if it happens to them,
in good company,
it happens to anyone. So, yeah, we went through that bug, I would say, for several days because it had there were different reasons why it was going on, why it was happening, and it's one of those things where you don't have a clear solution. As in, for instance, it doesn't happen the same to different PCs. It happens only on some PCs. It doesn't happen. It's not like a crash where you get a very clear, like, for instance, file which you can read and pass on to the programmers. So yeah, we dealt a lot with that one, and we felt we had fixed it, and many times we had to come back to it. One note I want to say about now that I'm playing through this section, most people don't realize that you can actually hover around these cinematics and with the camera sort of view when the elders are speaking. You can actually see the little animations by moving the camera around.
Aha. It's nice that they're all named, and people do ask, like, there's no way for you to save the elders, correct? You have to leave them behind on your journey.
Correct. Yeah, you cannot save the elders, though you will encounter many more elders in the game, and they're not all in the same situation, though most of them are old and incapable of moving. So, but there are a few surprises here and there.
Nice. Okay, so once you complete the elders discussion, maybe we should pause and do the contest winners for this week. In our Discord and social channels, we had a contest just asking people to submit their favorite screenshot, and that we would pick some of the ones that these were picked basically because they were kind of unusual, a little bit different, and so we can talk about them and announce our winners. If
Yeah,
you're good.
I'm gonna spoil a secret here, so in case
Oh, okay.
someone didn't see it, uh, we have like these little paths that are at different places of the game. So it's kind of cool that you can, for instance, get um, this mutation, the funny looking hair. Boom. So yeah, you want me to change to the screenshot winners? Let's do
Yeah,
that.
once he mutates here, we'll just pause. Ah, there he goes.
Yep, yep. There I have you. So you can get many mutations. You can find them earlier in the game. So there are puzzles in the game where you are kind of like sort of you need to use that mutation in a specific shrine or something, but we often sort of hide uh, mutations earlier in the game than when they become kind of mandatory in the game, and I think that's something cool about exploration, that being able to sort of
It was not easy to leave the
find
camp, but the elder
new
had urged them
mutations
to go through.
and have a more
Suddenly
interesting
they
group
felt the weight of their
Trebum
many
early on in the
tasks
game.
to find their Trebum sibling.
So
There you go.
I'll go to the contest.
Okay, so let's see which one you put up first, and then we'll talk about that.
Is that not showing? It should be showing now.
There we go. Okay, so that one is by Nintendo Nate. And this is, I think, the Tundra, right? The
Yeah.
Omnumgrum with his like warm fur is one of my favorite one of my favorite characters. Do you want to talk about kind of how you decided to build these sort of lattice bridges? They're different.
Yeah. This is definitely one of Edmundo's design, the art director, for the project. When we were talking about doing the snow environments, we really wanted to do something that didn't feel well. That definitely is the case for all the environments in the game, but each biome really had to feel like it was an alien world. So the red bridges was one of Mundo's idea. They were a little bit difficult to actually get them working in the game because they use a very different system, the way they're built to other assets in the game. So they're very custom made. So they presented a little bit of a technical challenge, but I think in the end it paid off. It was, I would say, these sort of red bridges is probably the most distinct aspect of the snow biome, where you have different things being like the most notable aspect of the each biome. For instance, maybe these large avocado shaped trees in the first biome. Then you have these red bridges, and yeah, it was pretty cool coming up with the different designs for each biome.
All right, let's move to the next one and see what we have. Which one will you show?
Yes.
Okay, this is by Smothered Butter, which is just a great name. But you have your sort of surveying the landscape shot, looking at the inert cylinder, etc. So I just thought this was kind of a epic looking scenario. The patterns on the towers, can you tell me about them? Do they have any like meaning, or where's the inspiration for the patterns you see?
That's also something that Edmondo worked on. I think you can see a lot of like patterns and stuff not only in the game's world when you come to encounter structures. Pamela Meneses, who's our UI graphic designer, also worked with a lot of shapes and unique um, designs for the different things that are from the Trebum world. again, it was more a process of trying to come up with something that felt unique and that was sort of special to the Trebum, the Trebum culture.
Nice. All right, let's switch to our last one. We do have a honorable mention that will go out on Twitter, but these are the three main winners. This one's by In Water in Air, I think. Okay. This, although it looks like it should be an album cover, looks like you have some interesting mutations here. Do you want to talk about any of there's a lot of little guys here in the background everywhere else. Anything particular you want to point out about them?
So whoever got this screenshot was very he got a lot of mutations that are not so common in the beta, which is something I find pretty cool. He has the what we call the eyes that we call them the scout eyes, but the official name I forget it. The ones that allow you to scan the enemies and add them to your compendium. It's one of the most interesting mutations in a sense that later in the game, as you progress, you'll be able to get your compendium filled out with the creatures themselves, and not only the flora, the flora like the plants, and that's really interesting. And this is the mutation that allows you to do that. Originally in the game, we were gonna sort of expose the enemies like a little bit in the compendium. We were gonna add them to the list, a little bit similar to what we had with the ingredients. But then we found that it would be way more interesting to do so with the mutation. So some of the functionality in the game that originally was meant to be in a way we would always think about. But how would this tie into a specific mutation? And then we would come up with interesting new mutations. There are definitely some mutations are way more complex than others. Some are pretty simple, but yeah, it was a fun process.
Chat is saying that you're still quiet. I know you've done your best for your mic here. They're asking if you can be louder for yourself.
Okay, I'll try to speak louder and closer to the mic.
Okay. Okay, well, congratulations to the winners who've done this. We're going to jump back into gameplay, and I'll just keep, throwing these questions at him while he's playing to see if we can, make it really challenging.
Sure.
All right, Smooth Butter says, are Jungle Groplets supposed to be scared of water? I've sprayed water at one's face, and it started to run away.
Yeah, they actually do get afraid of... They're not really afraid of water, but it's more the fact that you're spraying them with water. And I think in that's kind of realistic from a sense of animals. If many animals that aren't afraid of water will get afraid if you spray water on their faces. Now, the Jungle Grub, if you try to spray that one with water, he's not going to run away because you're just this little tiny thing. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying to spray the Jungle Grub, the big one.
Okay. Lord Uchimel is saying that they like the line art of the Trebum running in the loading screen. You're right. I'll make a GIF of that and I'll put it on social one of these days, and then you guys can take it. They said they love it so much. So yes, we'll make that for you. I think that we can do that on social. Okay. Sarmis Panchu asks, what inspired you with the idea of making a cylinder? Like the bad guy's a cylinder, that's unusual. So they're asking this.
Yeah, this came through a lot of time ago when we were looking at a lot of surreal art for designs, probably during the development of Xenoclash 2. So I had this sort of compilation of several artists, and there's fascinating stuff if you start looking for surreal artwork on the internet. And a lot of it has, if you look at it, even Dali and some of the more traditional artists, if you look at it, they have these like monolithic shapes in the environments. Like you can have giant cubes hanging in the environment. You can have like giant spheres, and they're mixing around. And the cylinder is kind of a basic shape. But for me, the cylinder, as soon as I thought about it, it was okay. A cylinder not only looks like impressive from an artistic point of view, it also has this like gameplay implication. So maybe a sphere or a cube would look like more like something that would feel like something that you would go and explore. So if you think about Destiny, they have this giant sphere, artificial sphere hanging in the sky, and that really makes for quite a amazing vista, and something that really pulls you into the sort of the fiction of the world. And the cylinder, I felt, was very unique in a sense that it had the same impact in a sense of being something so like dramatic, but it also allowed us to incorporate this really unique aspect of gameplay, which was simply flattening the entire world.
What mattered was to keep going, to keep looking for answers.
Okay, I don't know how to follow that one. Oh, you're about to go into my favorite place. Watching you go down the elevator.
Stop the cylinder.
It's really pretty. Okay, so anything you want to tell us, by the way, when you're running around, if you want to tell us like stories, backstories, behind the scenes stuff about whatever it is you're doing, feel free to just jump in and add that stuff to the mix there. Let's see. Smile James or SMJ James. I want to say Smile James, sorry, but I know it's SMJ James. Is asking about save points and how that will work in the final game. They're asking if you can always save in an Elder Cave. It seems like the space between the Elder Caves was longer as you went on. So are there going to be more save points in the final game?
Save points as in areas where you're safe.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. I was confused. It's save, like saving, or safe. Save point. Yeah, there are several areas in the game that are sort of safe areas. This is an exploration game, and we definitely wanted the people not to have to feel the pressure of being hunted or crushed by the cylinder at all times. So there are many areas in the game where you are not being hunted, and that you can explore more freely. As, for instance, now the pyramids. This is not the only pyramid in the game. Well, it's not a pyramid; it's a tetrahedron, which it doesn't have 4 sides; it has 3 sides. So it's a different shape. But yeah, we do have locations which have puzzles which are not intended to make the player feel attacked or stuff like that. These pyramids, I can say something. I'm going to call them pyramids for simplicity. This pyramid, there's an anecdote about this one. This was originally the structure which held the upgrade shrines. So if you go later in the game, you'll notice that you can go into these underground areas where you can upgrade your trebom, and that was originally in the pyramids. And the game was really full of these pyramids. They were scattered very frequently in the game. And that started presenting a problem because they're very large, and I'm going to show you a little bit what happens, why this presented a problem. But basically, the cylinder just doesn't plow through them. It actually stops, and you get these really cool simulation of destruction, which I'm going to show shortly. And if we had pyramids all over the environment, that meant we would have the cylinder sort of bump into these large structures and slow down more often. So it was very difficult to control the pacing of the game in terms of having to run away from the cylinder, because we had less control, because not only were the pyramids not appearing, not only were they appearing more often, they were random in locations. They were not custom placed, so that meant that we had just too many problems.
Speed bumps. That's funny. Okay, let's see. The elders now, they're asking about the elders. Blue Critter Games asks, how were the elders able to develop such an old culture when being threatened by the cylinder all the time? And did the Trebums erect the towers?
Okay, it's a little bit of a spoilery there, but yeah, the towers are Trebum towers. How did they do all this with the cylinder? That actually ties into the story. The amount of time which this cataclysm has been happening within the Trebum world is it's something that happened. The cylinder hasn't always been here. So I'm not going to go in it much deeper because I don't want to spoil it. But the Trebum culture did exist prior to the arrival of the cylinder.
Here's an environmental destructive one, and I know you're going to show us like when you cross the barrier as it hits the pyramid. So let's watch that while you think about this question from John Lee Erg, who wants to know, how did you manage to get the environmental destruction all running in real time? It seems very impressive to me.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to outrun the cylinder because I'm going to be real close to show the destruction. Okay. So here I'm going to see if I can speak and outrun the cylinder at the same time. Yeah,
Run!
The destruction of the many different things in the game was definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest, technical challenge for this game. I'm not sure if the biggest, because there's so many systems simultaneously working on the game. But the solution was multiple. Yeah, the cylinder doesn't go so fast at this point. The game, we had to come up with solutions for many different types of structures. And for instance, the way we can sort of get away with having so many destructibles simultaneously is by basically using different systems. What do I mean by that? So any small or medium-sized destructible is just a standard dynamic destructible that you would see in other video games, like a rock or something that breaks into little pieces, and you basically have physics just simply breaking the object in little chunks, and they break. However, we have a significant amount of very large objects in the game, and those are breaking just way too many pieces. So if we were to simulate them in real time with the amount that we have in the game, the processing would be of that many physical pieces would be just too hard. So what we had to do is come up with inventive solutions for the large objects. And I think that we did here, that Leo did, one of the programmers, is that we pre-simulate some of the destructions, and then we bake those simulations onto textures, which is a very novel way of solving that, because it's a very memory. If we were to do it on, I'm getting a little bit technical, so I hope I don't. This doesn't become kind of boring. But if we were have done it with skeletal meshes, like where you have bones and stuff, that's also would be not something we could do. So we actually baked the destruction onto textures for many objects in the game, and so that's just two examples. We have the animated destructibles, which we call the trees, which have to bend, and those are animated skeletal meshes. We also have what we call the sinking actors, which are rocks that are of a certain size that we simply crush and sink as the cylinder goes and pushes them down. We have custom destructibles, which don't fit into any category. It's just a huge amount of details that we had to work with to get those things done.
There you go. All the details for you guys. No, that's actually very interesting. I don't think they're going to mind if you go into that stuff. Oh yes, people are saying they love the technical part. Okay, so feel free to expound on that. There you go. Here's a good one from Sabelin. If you, as a developer, could have one mutation in real life, what would you choose?
Wow.
It's that grass hair, isn't it? That's everyone's favorite.
I think my wife would want me to have the third eye so I can find my stuff. She always complains I can't even find my socks, even if they're in front of me. So I guess I guess that could be a strong pick.
Oh, it's good. Okay. Here I'm gonna say Eisena 96. I'm probably mispronouncing that. This is one you guys have asked for a lot, and it's something that we've looked at in the F8 feedback that's submitted to ACE right now. So I don't know, but let's see what you say, Carlos. Is there a way to see which mutations can be combined so that you know which will replace the current mutation, and maybe a little more about how body parts work with mutations?
Yeah, that's something that came up, and no, we don't have exactly a way to know from which body parts. The truth is, one of the big challenges we've had in the game is how much information do we really want to keep on giving people without sort of removing that sense of discovery, and it's a difficult balance. So, for instance, originally you didn't even know which food would give you a mutation and which one would not, and eventually felt that was just too restrictive. So one of the reasons I think in the end we let it go as that people would not know which mutations change which parts is twofold. One, because we feel that we want people to sort of explore putting mutations and different trebom, to sort of experiment as much as they can by having different family members have the mutations, because from some testing sessions we would see that people would sort of stay with one leader and sort of stack on a lot of mutations on one specific trebom instead of sort of dispersing that onto different trebom. The other reason is that there is later in the game a mutation tree, and if you do look into the mutation tree, you will get a little bit more insight into what parts of the trebom switch with each mutation. But yeah, it's not a very clear thing, and I think we were okay with leaving that sort of a little bit mysterious.
Cool. Ceramius Panchu, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by this, but maybe Carlos will know. Will there be updates like in Rock of Ages 2? Just like general gameplay updates, or is there something specific you mean? I'm not sure. Do you know, Carlos?
Yeah, we did do some very nice updates for Rock of Ages. Like Rock of Ages, for those who don't know, has in the main UI, it has like a window where it says specifically what has been updated, and we did add on Rock of Ages 2 even a new game mode after launch. We have a good track record of updating our titles after they launch, so I don't think that this is going to be the exception. I think that we're very happy to update this game. We have teased the fact that we do want to do some stuff in the game that people have been asking for. So yeah, I think I don't know the extent and the similarities between the updates that we'll do for Eternal Cylinder and Rock of Ages, because they're two very different types of game. But for sure, we will update the game. Yeah, that is something that should happen.
A lot of people have been responding really well to the music. This one's funny from Sablin. Why does the OST hit so hard? Will there be an option to purchase it with the game in a bundle, or I guess separately? A lot of people have asked for that.
Yeah, I'm very happy that people are requesting the music. I don't think it'll. I mean, we haven't ever sold any of the music of our previous titles. I think no, that might not be true for a couple of games. I'd have to check. But one thing that we do for all our titles, that we usually, when the game launches, we put on our YouTube channel all of the tracks of the games there, so that everyone can hear it. This is definitely the achievement of Patricio Meneses, our composer, who has been our composer for every single game that we've ever worked on, and I work very closely with him on this one. This might be an interesting moment to talk a little bit about some of the inspirations that were discussed for the music. I'm really happy about how the music ended up working out for the game, and some of the best tracks are not even in the beta yet. Some really nice music is further along in the game. But when we were working with Patricio, one of the main sources of inspiration for the music is going to come from a very unusual place. It's the music from Bejeweled 2.
Okay, now you have to tell.
Now, if you look for the music of Bejeweled 2, I'm super sorry, I don't remember the name of the Skaven. I think that's the name of the composer. If you just even Google the music for Bejeweled 2, you'll notice that they always put like the images of like surreal landscapes with planets, like very spacey sort of environments, and I felt it had like this really unique feel to it. So that was probably initially one of the first things that I discussed with Patricio. I showed him the entire music. The music of Bejeweled also was like it's sort of, you would have these themes that connected between each other to make like this 30-minute long theme, and we knew we had to have like this very like these long tracks which would combine well between each other, because the game is pretty large. So you can spend, I'm kind of going through the game kind of fast now, but I know a lot of people are going to be exploring in the areas and spending a lot of time in it. So we knew that the music had to sort of be there, keeping you company as you explore in the game for long periods of time. So yeah, it's an unusual place maybe to have looked for sources of inspiration, but that's a very common thing at Ace Team when we're taking things from design point of view or from an artistic point of view, and even for the music, you'll see that we don't usually go for the most commonly seen sources of inspiration.
There are a lot of requests for like a music stream and like an art stream. So just keep that in mind if anyone would like to come on future streams.
Yeah, I would love to get Patricio here, but I'm not so sure he's one of the... I mean, I think he'd like... I'm not so sure about his English.
Okay.
I threw him under the bus, sorry, Pat.
All right, let's see more questions. Blue Cutter Games asks, are Trebums continuously growing? The elders are very big in comparison.
Yeah, the Trebum, yes, grow, and the elders are definitely bigger than the than the common tremors. I had never seen an omnogrom get this close to the car.
Half flesh, half metal.
This is very interesting.
The Trebor
Two
move like an
omnograms,
old,
okay.
distant
Oh, let's see what happens.
as if they
Yeah,
remembered
I
their
don't
own
know if
destruction.
they're gonna. I don't know if he's.
Will
gonna,
they fight?
About this creature was very, very wrong.
I think he's more interested in me. I'm gonna do something I shouldn't be doing. I'm gonna try to lead him to the omnograms.
On all sides, like deep pools of
We're here for this.
The Trebor needed to find a way to escape this monstrosity.
If something buggy
Perhaps there
happens,
was a way to use the
the
creature's
programmers
own
will
weight
kill me.
to lower the bridge.
No, 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 no. Oh, no, no. Okay, I lost one. No.
Oh no!
It's working pretty decent, I would say. I'm pretty happy about this. I've played this a million times. I had never seen two omnograms reach this area. So that may be something interesting to discuss about the game, which is a lot of people I think haven't noticed, but even though the game has this progression structure that is the key points of the game are the same for everyone. The in-between areas are not. So why did those two omnograms arrive there? And it's the first time I've seen it. It's because I lost more trouble. It's because the game, in that sense, is procedural. So not all the tiles, not all the environments is the same all the time. You sometimes get some parts of the environment in the in-between sections, and you sometimes get other sections. The game is structured a little bit like this. So we have the key areas, which are like the pre-designed areas, like the one I just encountered, which would be the encounter with that's kind of buggy, the chain. The cleanser area. So that's going to be the same for everyone. However, there are two types of environmental, how would I call it, like landscape segments that exist in the game, which are what we call the mega tiles and the tiles. So what the game does, so we have the world map. The world map, we have on the world map specific locations that are placed on specific areas. But the in-between areas, we don't manually set what goes there. What goes in the in-between areas is first we fill them out a little bit like Tetris with the mega tiles. So the mega tiles are the first type of structure that fills out the world. And the in-between between the missions and the mega tiles would leave these spots, which are the regular random tiles. And that's how the world gets populated. Interesting also to mention is that not only each tile of the game is the same always. The tiles themselves have random elements in them. So, for instance, a same tile might have been placed on the same place for two different people, but that doesn't mean that the content of the tile will be the same for both. So you could have things like relatively large structures like rocks or the placement of trees be different in between two people, but you also have the enemy placement being different. So the fact that I got two omnograms appear in that area is because I had to have had a specific tile that had omnograms appear in that area, and the omnograms themselves needed to sort of spawn in that location.
So, Carlos, the nest with the Trepomegs in it, what tile is that on? Who's leaving those in the middle, right behind the cylinder, so that none of us can save our trebums, Carlos.
Yeah, it's kind of. I understand some people might feel sad when they see the nests and the houses, and they're like, "Okay, I'm gonna save you," and the cylinder's coming too fast, and you're kind of not capable of doing that. It's random in the game. We're not evil game designers, and we're not intentionally trying to put eggs on places where you can't save them. But I guess that's very real, in a sense that if you were in the middle of this kind of huge catastrophe, things wouldn't be neatly placed in areas where you would know that everyone would be saved, and so that's how things are. Some of the eggs, given the way I was describing the way that we do design, the nests will be placed in more custom places when they are part of a mission structure, like one of the curated areas, but on the random areas they can just simply pop up in different places.
They're very concerned that the trebum are not drinking enough while you're playing.
Yeah, I've been ignoring their
like, trebums, please give them some water. Wow, there's a lot of like concern for the trebum's thirst level. Okay.
I'm fixing that.
Okay.
That gives me time to, I guess, discuss a little bit about the
Trebum were excited by this discovery.
this was one of the things. The survival thing was something that took quite a while to get it right. The food and water system, that was definitely one of the things that required most editing in the game. I would say that I have been playing around with how much food things give you, how much water, how you get water, how many puddles of water, how many health items are in the game for so long. So you can get water basically by eating some stuff. Some stuff gives you water, some stuff gives you food. But in some areas you depend mostly on water. And we have these water volumes, which are also random. so many random things in the game. So for instance, you can encounter these random water volumes, which would be like a puddle in any place in the game, right? I'm not seeing anyone here next to me, but in the desert, for instance, the desert biome, water starts becoming much more of an issue than in the savannah, in the alien savannah. So getting a game balanced when you have so many random elements is definitely been one of the biggest challenges we've ever had as a studio. I've been playing the game non-stop for years now, and every single time I play through the campaign, I still end up making lists and lists of little tiny changes I'm doing on the balance of the game, and that has been on so many fronts, on the cylinder speed, the amount of food, the aggressiveness of enemies, the amount of enemies. There's many things to like proper calibrate.
I just think it's really neat that even something as small as like the plants and, you know, the type of plants that are around per biome, or like the yamatsuk, which is that it looks kind of like a, I don't know, that white flower that it's always around the trebum. Like anytime you see that, you kind of know that there's a trebum, like a hut or something, you know, cultivated there. That's just so cool that like all those things are thought through with that level of detail.
For instance, here I'm having a bad time. Okay, I'm gonna die. This is for sure my end. I fell. And
Oh no.
this is because I got this random canyon section in between the area I had to run to. That is... Oh, I fell again! I can't believe it. I knew I was gonna do something silly. Okay. And I'm stuck here.
It's close.
No, there's no way. I'm not getting out of this one. Okay, bye-bye.
But see, this time you have the map. Like that
Yeah.
wasn't always there in early builds. The map is very helpful.
Not sure enough. If I'm gonna make it. Oh!
Oh no.
So that's that's very interesting. I fell into that gap because, but I couldn't have predicted that gap was going to be there. And I played this game so many times that if the environment was standard, for sure. I mean, if it was pre-built, I would have avoided that area for sure. But I don't really know where the gaps are, so I made it.
Nicely done.
I think I might have the cylinder aggressiveness in easy because I was doing some tests, and I think that's...
Ah,
Yes.
Is that how it is?
Yeah, for those who don't know, if you're kind of too stressed out by the cylinder or the survival, for instance, some people might not really want to play the game so much, having to worry about their thirst and their hunger, or they get too stressed out because the cylinder is kind of, I don't know, scary. You can, in the accessibility options, turn down some of the aspects of the game and sort of make the game more tailored experience for you.
The cylinder roared with fury.
So I think I would guess that I have the cylinder kind of in easy mode because...
The cylinder would
No,
lash
I'm gonna...
out at the lad,
No,
but
die.
would
What happened
not
there?
let them run too far.
There was a
Is it
Jungle
cigar
Grub which
chain?
disappeared right next to me. Oh, that's something I want to mention about the beta that's not working properly, and we are gonna fix it. So some people might have noticed I just had a Jungle Grub and it disappeared right next to me, and they might have seen some of the omnograms like sort of pop up in the middle of my runs. That's because the system which places enemies has to strike a balance of how a maximum amount of enemies we can have in any scene at any given time. So that's also something that needs to be calibrated in the game. So right now, in the game, you have a maximum amount of certain enemies that can be placed at any given time in the game. So at this moment, if the system is kind of not appearing or disappearing enemies based on whether or not you're able to see them if they're in your line of sight, that's going to be fixed. So I guess some people might have seen this when they were playing through the game, but you would, for instance, be right in the middle of a run between one row of the cylinder to the next one, and what happens, an omnogram or a Jungle Grublet or a Jungle Grub sort of spawns out of nowhere right in front of you. That's because of that unfinished feature, which something we should be working on as one of the final things that we're finalizing for the game.
Okay, so this has been asked a couple times, and I think it's pretty clear, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Will the game have bosses, or how does the concept of bosses work in a game like this?
We do have enemies that we call bosses, so the answer is yes. For me, a boss is usually... What is a boss? A boss is usually a very large enemy that appears at a more scripted moment in the game. Are there those occurrences in the game? Yes, there are. They're more like special sort of events in the story, but if we go by the definition of what a boss is, yeah, definitely there are bosses. You see there, I just had an omnogram spawn right in front of me, and that's something that in the final game won't happen. Yes, there are bosses. There are some really freaky ones, so yeah.
Yeah. For where you were before when we knocked the bridge over with, I guess, the cleaner, one of someone was asking, is it intentional that you can skip that? Because some people have been going around the gorge before the cylinder arrives, so they don't have to encounter them and lose some of their mutations.
Sure. It is intentional, and that leads me to a little bit of an anecdote with regards to QA. This game we've had, we're doing a lot of QA, and that means a lot of different people have been testing it. Well, basically, thanks to you, everyone who's been helping us out with the F8 function. That is part of the process of QA, but there's a lot of times when we get reports about puzzles being solved in a way which is not like kind of the what appears to be the solution that the designers intended. And sometimes we figured out that people are beating areas in ways that we didn't foresee that they would, and that is the case for the cleanser. And what happens there in that situation is that even though we get the report, and I'm not talking only about the F8 reports, I'm also talking about like traditional companies where you're doing QA and you're sending these builds and they're giving you reports about what things they can do and what they cannot. We do get reports like that, which says, okay, I was able to bypass this specific puzzle doing that. But in the design, like we don't want to sort of tell people, no, you should only be able to design to pass this specific puzzle in this single way. You should be able to solve puzzles in different ways. And if people find out ways that are creative to solve puzzles, then for me that's much better. I actually prefer when people get creative and simply just find their own way to navigate around a specific puzzle we may have designed.
Okay, we're wrapping up on time here, so let me grab last questions. John Lee asks, any notable narrative inspirations? I guess maybe for the area you're in.
Narrative inspirations. I would have to leave that to Jonas to answer. I might not be able to answer that with regards to the inspiration for the narration, but I can at least give another anecdote with regards to the narrator and the how this came to be. For those who have played previous of all of our titles, or basically those who have played the Deadly Tower of Monsters, they will know that it's not the first time we're doing a game that's heavily narrated. And originally in Eternal Cylinder, there was not going to be a narrator. Not only that, the game at the very beginning, we were trying to make it very low with regards to how much UI and how much stuff we would put on the game. But we started figuring out that the game was just too difficult to play if you didn't have any knowledge about the game mechanics. So the narrator became not only an important narrative factor into the game, but also a interesting mechanical one. Oh, there's no treble here. Okay, bug. I just bumped into a treble house without a treble. So perhaps the size of but the narrator was incorporated into the game to help us not only guide people into the world of the game, the story, the events, but also have a little bit of extra help on what to do, where to go, what should I be doing. And that's really difficult in a game if you're not going to have any help, and your main characters aren't human beings even. They don't speak in English, so yeah, that was an important factor into the creation of the narrator.
Good. Okay, well, I think that's probably a good place to stop. We've been going for a little over an hour now, but if you're up for it, I think we're planning to continue this, guys, like every other Friday or so. So twice a month you have a live stream. So we have a channel open that will come live, I guess, a couple days before every live stream in Discord, and you can put your questions in there so you get to them first thing before we play. Maybe you can save it with some kind of special notes. We can start here from the next one. We can show people more of the beta. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think Daniel wants to do the next live stream. He's our lead programmer, and he might be able to. I'll see if we can do it. He might be able to maybe show early versions of the game. That would be
yeah, I really want that. That'd
that
be
would
awesome.
be really fun. Maybe get it into the editor. I don't know. So that'll be a fun one. Definitely, there's a lot of really interesting things about the making of the game that Daniel has a much better insight than I do. So that should be a fun one.
There you go. Okay, so stay tuned for 2 Fridays from now, and we will announce that in Discord again beforehand. You'll have plenty of time to know when to show up and all of that. But thank you guys for joining us and for playing the beta. We'll continue to show you more of the game so you don't get lonely without your trouble friends. And yeah, talk to you in Discord later on.
Bye, everyone.